folks, welcome to week 12 of GID216, Motion Graphics and Interactive Media. Okay, so this week we're going to be going over motion tracking, specifically in After Effects. Now, this is a little bit more complex of a bit of functionality for After Effects, but it's something that I want you to practice with this week and work with and see if you can incorporate it eventually into our title sequence for the semester. Now, speaking of which, step 2 of the title sequence is due at the end of this week. Now, in a minute, I'm going to get into all the details, but you'll notice that this is our week 12 module. Over here, I have a week 12 module with the exact same content, but this is over in Canvas. So when you see the video coming up in about a second here with all the details, we're going to be referring to this version of week 12. Don't get confused, it's the exact same content. I just recorded it for the exact same class using a different learning management system. So same stuff, the same 4 tutorial videos on motion tracking, camera tracking, and 3D text, and the same due date for your title sequence project. Step 2 is due at the end of the week. So everything lines up. It's just that this is going to look a little like this. Other than that, it's the same stuff. So if you need me, remember to get me on email or Zoom, office hours Mondays and Fridays, okay? All right, let's dive into the details. Let's talk about motion tracking, camera tracking, 3D text, and what's due at the end of this week. All right, so this is an After Effects week in week 12. And this week we're going to sort of jump onto some slightly complicated functionality in After Effects, specifically motion tracking, camera tracking, and 3D text. So there are 4 videos, so there's quite a bit to consume. So, and of course, it's actually not 4 videos, it's 4 segments of our extra long video tutorial that we've been working with all semester. So remember, you're starting at 235 and you're jumping to 309. So basically watch all the way through there and it'll cover those 4 different techniques that are all related to each other. Motion tracking, camera tracking, 3D text, it's all related to each other. Now, it's a little complex. Now, you probably know what I'm talking about if you have ever seen any of the dance videos on TikTok, for example. They use motion tracking a lot. And so a lot of times in those scenarios, you will see this sort of a thing where the camera is following the dancers around, right? So they are obviously just moving, but instead of the camera being stationary, the camera is following them around as if it is glued to their heads or to a point in their body, right? And you can see in this clip here, it's even a little more jumpy, kind of bounces all over the place. And it zooms in and out at the same time that it follows the dancer around. Now, what's not happening is there is not an actual camera person on site here, literally moving around with the person. The camera was shot perfectly steady like you would expect it to be. The camera was either being held by somebody or on a tripod or whatnot. But this is done later in After Effects by essentially pinning the point of view to a specific spot on this person's body or back here on these people. And so you see that a lot, and then what ends up happening is once that's applied, the camera follows them around. So that's kind of the end goal. Now, this is a typical use for it, but it can be used a lot more subtly. And frankly, I actually like it when it's done more subtly, when you're just panning gently across an area. But anyway, these 4 tutorials will help you with that. Now, this is a little advanced. It is not necessarily expected that you incorporate these skills into what we're working on, but I want you to practice with them so that as we move through Project 3, which is our longer title sequence project, you can have these as an option to use in your title sequence, okay? Maybe not the sort of quicker, jumpy style that we just looked at with the dancers, but maybe the more slow, subtle style, which you're actually going to see in these tutorials. So take a lot of time this week to practice with these. This is really your main goal this week, because the only thing that's due at the end of the week is step 2 of Project 3. And step 2 is to create your research collection and presentation of your content. Now, this is where you sort of go out to a variety of places to collect imagery and sound that you can use in your title sequence. You know, you've rewritten your classic movie or TV show, you've rewritten the plot summary for a new genre, and now you need to go out and places like Unsplash and Pexels and Pixabay and Flickr, you can go out and find imagery, video clips, graphics, illustrations, whatever you want to use in your title sequence so that you can piece them all together. And like a lot of these projects, make sure that you are choosing imagery, including video clips, that make sense together, that look as though they come from the same sort of place. Don't pick a really colorful, bright animation and then try to pair that with a dark, moody video clip. It just wouldn't make any sense. So make sure that you're shooting for imagery that makes sense not only with the genre that you chose for your reimagined movie and TV show, but also that fits well together for the genre that you have chosen. And then, of course, sound effects and music you can get from either Audio Archive or Freesound, and also from YouTube. Remember, I showed you guys in class you can go to the YouTube collection of free music and sound effects from your own channel on YouTube. You can have access to that, so that is another great resource for audio. And then you're just going to make a big collection. Just download as many things as you think will make sense for your title sequence. In fact, get more stuff than you think you're going to need. If you think you're only going to need like 15, 20 different images or video clips, get like 30 or 40 of them. Because it's better to have more than less, right? Because as you're building your title sequence, you might find, you know what, I don't really have enough stuff here. Or maybe this clip didn't work as well as I thought it was going to in actual practice. So give yourself options. Once you have collected everything, you are going to put it together into a sort of mood board presentation. We're calling it a mood board, but it's in quotes, meaning that mood boards are usually like this one, just sort of a stationary item. But you can use PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever you would like to put together a full presentation of your collection of imagery that you're going to use. In doing so, you're going to try to answer these questions here, right? Of course, remind us which classic movie or TV show you're going with, and remind us of the new genre and subgenre that you reimagined it as. But now that you've collected all your imagery and audio pieces that could possibly work in your title sequence, you're going to talk to us about what are the themes of your newly imagined movie or TV show. How do you imagine, how do your image choices or video choices support your genre and subgenre? If you plan to use audio, which you should, what do you hope your audio choices will accomplish, right? Do you want to make how do you want to make the audience feel when they hear certain audio pieces or music? Do you have an art or film style in mind that you're going to try to emulate in the building of your title sequence? And if so, which? And anything else you'd like to tell us. So you're going to put together this presentation, and then next week when we meet, you are going to present this to us and talk about your choices. So be prepared to do that, okay? So again, this is step 2 for our project, for our title sequence project. So that is the main thing you're going to be working on due for the end of this week. But honestly, you could sit down and, make that collection of stuff and put together that presentation in a couple of sittings, which leaves you a good chunk of time this week to practice with the motion tracking and the camera tracking and the 3D text, which again, you don't have to present any results of these at the end of this week. It's just another set of tools that you can add to your toolbox that you could use on your title sequence possibly. So, all right, if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, or whatever, you can catch me on email, pick me up on the Monday or Friday Zoom office hours. I'm always happy to hear from you. And I will talk to you soon.